My guest on today's show is Ed Fox. Ed Fox is a ninth grade dropout who started his first business at 15 years old. He grew it to six figures and more than six figures within a few years. As you're about to hear, he's comes to us from the great country of Australia and is up to all sorts of amazing things, which we're going to hear more about today. Ed, thanks for being on.
G'day, Jason. Hey, thanks for having us on the show. I'm excited that we finally got this to work.
Yeah, we talked about this. I think we met about 4 months ago, maybe it was even longer. And I said, hey, and
who's counting?
Yeah, who's counting? At a 2021, I don't even know what month it is.
Right, exactly.
And I remember saying to you, Ed, I said, hey, I got to have you on my podcast. Everybody, you're going to find out Ed is hilarious. He's got an amazing story. So I'm glad we made this work, and here we are. So we're going to have a fun conversation. And we're going to kick it off right now. So
I like the fact that we're just recording the audio. You know, I've been doing some Zoom podcasts myself, and they've been recording the video. My dad always said I had a great face for radio, so I'm excited about doing the audio. Thank you.
There you go. That's good. Well, just to share with everybody, Ed is wearing an American flag shirt and a very Australian style hat. I don't know what do you call that kind of hat?
Yeah, an Outback hat. It's actually kangaroo leather squishy in a bag.
That's so perfect.
And to top it all off, I do have pants on and I'm wearing my rainbow colored Crocs.
Wow.
People go like, are you making a political statement? I'm like, no, let me tell you the story. My boys kept stealing all my camouflage and my blue Crocs and my black Crocs. And these were on the clearance rack at the Croc outlet. And I said, my son was with me. I said, hey, you should buy these. He said, I wouldn't be caught dead in them. I said, good, I'm buying them. And it's the only pair I can ever find.
There you go. That's perfect. And the fact that you are wearing pants, which I'm not going to have you prove it to me, means
right.
that you're ahead of many people on Zoom. So
that's right, exactly.
We'll leave it at that. All right, Ed. So let's kick this off. So first of all, what is something that you nerd out about?
I'm a gadget geek, but I'm also a sci-fi fan. Now, I can't recite lines out of Star Wars or Star Trek or Firefly, but I'm a Doctor Who geek. Growing up, of course, in the British Commonwealth, Doctor Who was, and I'm not talking about the new stuff. I'm talking about the 1963 Doctor Who, John Pertwee, or however you say that, you know, where they'd spray paint the cricket gloves to make them look like the aliens wearing the cricket gloves, you know, as part of his outfit. So I nerd out on sci-fi. I enjoy all sorts of science fiction. And then dad jokes. I nerd out on dad jokes. I've enjoyed dad jokes since I was a kid. You know, my dad would actually make a special route through our town so he could drive past the graveyard, the cemetery, at least once or twice a week. He says, you know, people's dying to get in there, you know, or that's the dead center of town. He's only used it on us like 50,000 times, but he always thought it was funny. So,
well, did you give him a laugh every time he did it?
I did. It was either a laugh, a head roll, or a groan. You want to hear my dad joke for 2021?
I would love to hear it.
Yeah, we're not done with the year, but this to me is I pick a dad joke winner every year since I think 2018. I've picked a dad joke of the year. So did you hear about the Norwegian Navy putting barcodes on the sides of their warships? So when they come back to port, they can Scandinavian.
That is that's pretty clever. It's pretty good.
Clever. Yes,
it's clever. It's pretty good. It's clever.
So that's so I enjoy the anatomy of a dad joke and that play on words.
Yeah.
Some people don't appreciate. And then like I tear apart a dad joke that doesn't work. There's one about a termite walk with a sore jaw. He walks into a pub or a bar and he says, where's the bartender? And I've never been able to get that joke to work because you don't immediately think about, he's trying to chew on the bar. You know, so there's some dad jokes that don't work. Like another one of my favorites. Abstract. Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't work. So one of my favorites, 2020, actually, the 2020 joke of the year. You know, I've got 2 dad joke books up on Amazon, and I love talking about that. So I nerd out on this stuff. But my dad joke for 2020, and I told the kids this a ton of times in 2020. Every time we got together to eat, they thought I had Alzheimer's. But I said, what did the 80-year-old pirate say at his birthday party? I'm 80.
Oh, that's so bad slash
Isn't
good.
it good? Yeah. Okay. So I've only got one more in the year, the 2019 one.
Let's get it right now. Let's do it.
Okay. Why don't you shower with a Pokemon?
Oh my God.
Because he'll Pikachu.
Oh.
See, I enjoy word play. I enjoyed I like reading about etymology. I used to pull down the World Book Encyclopedia and the dictionary. So the Funkin' Wagnalls, I hope that translates okay. That was the brand of our encyclopedias in Australia. You guys had like World Book over here.
World Book or Encyclopedia Britannica are the two.
So, right. So we had Funkin' Wagnalls were the cheap ones. Like you only had to pay $1 an issue or something, and you picked them up at the grocery store. And so I loved digging into, well, why is it called a threshold? So why is the door jam a threshold? Oh, because they used to throw straw over it and it had a little lip, so the thresh wouldn't come out of the threshold. Like,
I like that. I like entomology too. There's all sorts of, and I don't have any good examples right now, but there's all sorts of amazing ways that these words become part of our lexicon, and they actually mean something.
Right, exactly. And people dig into them and they don't realize, sometimes people get offended at certain words, but they've got to understand the word etymology of where it came from, Mm-hmm. Do you know the difference between an entomologist and an etymologist?
No.
An etymologist knows the difference.
That's a word.
Right.
The other is an insect, isn't it?
Right. So entomology is insects. Etymology is word understanding. So the difference between an entomologist and an etymologist, now I've lost it. I just totally
etymologist.
But he's the one that knows the difference. So
there you go.
That's a bit hard for most people.
Last question for you on dad jokes.
Yes.
Are you looking for any sort of, does any sort of reaction to a dad joke make you happy? Groan, head shake, a laugh, anything at all you're happy with?
Yes. Yeah, because that's all you're looking for is just, and even if they trying not to do anything. So I launched a TikTok channel because my kids said I couldn't launch a TikTok channel. So I did a special ed Fox dad jokes. I just tried to do special ed and somebody got offended. I said, look, my mom calls me special all the time. Yeah. So I'm special ed. I'm not. So the quotation marks are around special, not around special ed. Yeah. And I do a lot. I also love the game of cricket. So I've taught a lot of kids cricket. And so when I was living in Kansas, we would get the South Central Kansas Mental Health Awareness Association, whatever. And they bring out all the Downs kids and all the kids that we could try and help. And we'd play cricket with them. And so I have a passion. These kids, these special ed kids, these Down syndrome kids, and I'm not really politically correct, but I got a good heart. I don't mean any offense. I don't mean to offend anybody, but I like to play on words. And so anything I can do to support or grow them and teach them and raise awareness. And so somebody got offended that I put special ed. So I had to do special ed Fox,
There you go. There you go.
Solves the problem. So special ed Fox dad jokes, and any reaction is good or no reaction is good because you see them trying to hold in a giggle and then you walk away and they'll chuckle or snort. But the snort is the best. When I can turn around and call them Snorty McSnort-a-lot, that's the Mount Everest I want to climb.
There it is. There it is. So with that, Ed, what's something that's inside of your comfort zone that might be outside of somebody else's?
Being extra.
Define extra for us.
So according to my daughter, when I wear my American flag shirt, my rainbow slippers and my Aussie hat, and I'm walking into a store, whether it be a Harbor Freight, a Walmart, or a Chipotle, doesn't matter. You'll always get these gangbangers or whatever hanging outside the front of the Walmart or the Walgreens, and they're like, oh, man, love those Crocs. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. I love that shirt. I get that all the time. Love that shirt. I say, I say I am Australian by birth, American by choice, right? Yeah. So I love both countries, but I love the freedoms in America to be who we are. Right. Or, hopefully they're still there. Depends which state you live in these days. But the state I live in is a constant state of, can I make you laugh? And can I help you grow your business? Those are the two things that I focus on. And so being extra is just being that people find it hard to believe, but I'm an introvert. But when I put on the American shirt, and I put on the hat and I put on the Crocs and I crack dad jokes, I can be a character, right? And I can play a character. And while it's truly a part of me deep down, I'm a guy that likes to lie on my bed and read a book and be by myself.
Yeah.
You know, I would rather be by myself than around it. But when I have to be out and on, I can be out and on. And if I can help somebody while I'm doing it, my wife will lean over if I'm coaching, like I fall into this accidental business coach sort of level sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I was helping this lady out of Michigan the other day and she didn't know how to do certain things. So I'm giving her all these ideas. My wife comes in and pats me on the shoulder and leans over and says into the Zoom camera, she says, listening to my husband about business is like drinking from the fire hose. If it gets too much, just tell him to stop. Right? Because I've got, you know, I know thousands of businesses. I've sold advertising. I've worked with businesses. I've started businesses. I've failed at businesses. I've succeeded at businesses. And so there's a lot of good information that small business owners or just business owners in general need some of that help.
Yeah. Ed, what about the reverse of that then? So being extra is something that you're comfortable with. What about something that's the opposite? So something that's outside of your comfort zone, that's going to be inside of somebody else's?
Well, I don't know if it's inside. It tends to be that if you are a giver, it's hard to receive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you like to give. That's easy. My mom was the ultimate giver. She would spend all the money she ever got on Christmas presents just because she liked the warm fuzzy of giving to somebody else. But whenever she got something back, it was uncomfortable because she didn't know how to handle it. And I'm a lot that same way. People ask for help and I'll give them the shirt off my back. I don't care. I'll help them however I can. Like a lady today, I'm doing a Nashville2.com video series to learn more about Nashville and people that maybe aren't telling their story because I've just moved to Nashville. And so one of the things that's important to me, she said, well, how much are you going to charge for that? I'm like, oh, send me a bottle of water or buy me a Coke next time we meet up at a networking event. She goes, no. What's the charge for being on your show? I said, no, it's about promoting you and getting you more customers. I don't need to make any money off doing that.
Yeah.
So it's that. So being given and being offered help, and like I don't know how to deal with that really because I'm more of a giver than a taker.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but I think
that makes perfect sense.
I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense, Ed. All right. So, do you do any public speaking?
Yeah, whenever I get the opportunity, I probably do more public speaking than they want. You know, they have to get one of those hooks and pull me off stage. Because once I get a microphone and people start laughing, I'm not going to shut up. Like, you're going to have to shut this off when we're done, like, because I'll just keep talking.
My next podcast guest that I'm recording in 43 minutes, I know her quite well. She will come after you if you're not done. So okay. You're right. I will call you. Call you. But
you need to introduce us and keep connecting people. I'd like to see more connections, and I always like to do Zooms and then have my guests jump in on top of the other one, just so I can introduce them.
Yeah, I think that would be. I'm thinking about my next guest. That would be hilarious. You two would actually get along really well. I will introduce the two of you.
Okay.
So good. if I'm able to give you 5 minutes and you get to deliver a speech.
Okay.
And this speech goes out to the entire world.
Okay.
No, I don't have that actual power, but let's pretend for a minute here.
Okay, sure.
What would you speak to us on, and what would be your call to action to all of us?
So for me, I read an article, and I don't even know where I came across it, but it would go something along the lines of this. The average 3-year-old laughs 250 times a day. You know, it's on the internet, so it has to be true, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The average 40-year-old laughs 12. Yet, Reader's Digest has been telling us for 100 years, laughter is the best medicine. You know, Abraham Lincoln, to paraphrase him, said something along the lines of, people are about as happy as they make up their mind to be.
Mm-hmm.
So we all know negative Nellies. Those negative people that nothing is ever positive, nothing is ever going well in their life, and they just drain us.
Yeah.
And for those of us that are givers, we want to help them, but you can only help them so much. But what if we're a positive Pete instead of a negative Nellie? I just made that up. I don't know if there's a positive Pete, but I'm going to be special Ed because I want you to laugh. I get on Zoom calls and you get the financial planners in the net. And I'm not picking on financial planners, but you know, you get the hi, my name's Bob and I'm a financial planner and I can help you plan for retirement. Oh, thanks, Bob. Okay, and then we go on to Gene. Gene's a real estate agent or an insurance agent. And then Ed comes on. G'day, viewers and listeners. It's Ed Fox, Australian by birth, American by choice. Here's my dad joke for you today. I see the dynamic of the 40 people on the Zoom call. A few of them are rolling their eyes.
Yeah.
A few of them are like, oh my God, that Ed Fox is on here again. But I get private messages all the time that say, hey, you make my day. If I can get on with you early enough in the day, I have a better day. You know what? That's the best accolade I could ever get. Ed makes me laugh. Ed has useful information. Ed helped me grow my business. If I can do that, that is what I live for. I'm not gonna be on my deathbed going, oh, look, man, I need another $500. I need one more client. No, I need you to laugh more. I need you to have a good day. I need you to enjoy your life. Even as we go through struggles, I've had 2 open heart surgeries, thought I was going to croak it both times. I didn't. I've had struggles, nowhere near the sort of struggles that other people have had. But if you can maintain that positive mental attitude, I like to say that it's these 5 things that is going to affect us, right? It's the people we associate with. It's the audios we listen to. It's the functions and events that we attend. It's the books we read. And it's the actions we take. And most people forget the actions part, right? We do all the other 4, but we forget to take action. If we can do those 5 things and plan on who we associate with, what we read and what we do, we can make not only our own lives better, but we can make other people's lives better. And I think laughter is a great way to do that. I am sick and tired of going to a networking event and some jock is telling some dirty joke trying to hit on 3 poor ladies over in the corner. That's not what networking's for. Keep your dirty jokes for the locker room. Let's have some clean fun and let's help people's lives better. And what can you do to improve their life? What can you do to help them take the eyes off yourself and put them on somebody else? And that's my goal. That's Beautiful. What people should all do for once. Just take the eyes off yourself. Don't worry about yourself. Help enough other people get what they want, Zig Ziglar said, and you'll have everything in life that you will want. Yeah. So yeah, don't get down in wherever Dagobah system you're sucked in the mud like a Jedi, like Luke Skywalker. Just say, oh, okay, well, what can I crack a joke about this? And that's one thing I say that Australians are really good at. They have that sense of humor that anything can be joked about, or at least they used to. We're getting a bit too politically correct. It's killing comedy.
Yeah, that's cool, Ed. So what I hear is the call to action is figure out ways to laugh more.
Laugh more. Because I find that when I'm depressed and I'm sitting at my computer and nobody else is around, I'm a bit self-conscious. But if I feel like crap, I just start laughing. And I already feel better. Better.
All right, Ed, we're going to take a very brief commercial break and we'll be right back after this.
The Talking to Cool People podcast is brought to you by Jason Frizzell Coaching. Jason works with amazing people who are looking to find and develop their passion and purpose and create their journey to wherever it is they want to go. Check us out at jasonfrizzell.com, Facebook, or on Instagram. Jason loves hearing from anyone who thinks it would be cool to connect, to be coached, or to be a guest on our show. Email him at podcast@jasonfrizzell.com or DM him on Facebook and Instagram. And now, back to some more amazing conversation on Talking to Cool People.
All right, Ed, we are back. Are you open to a challenge, Ed?
Sure.
I don't know if you're going to like this challenge, but I'm going to offer it to you anyway.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that when you're on, but you're actually an introvert. I'm curious what it would be like if you answered this next question without performing it. Would you be open to doing that?
Sure.
Cool. What do you want the audience to know about you?
That's a good question. Again, it goes back to that giving and that and not being able to accept. I want people to know that I'm authentic. I'm genuine. And people say, well, how can you be on an extra and then be authentic? Well, because deep down, this is the person I want to be, but I'm scared to be this person, right? So I I have to put the character on. So I'm going through this stage right now, buying all these Hawaiian shirts, right? Like this American flag shirt. So I really, I see myself as that scared little kid at school that couldn't talk to anybody, hid out in the library because I didn't have any friends. You know, the librarian was my best friend. The same reason that you see all the big fat guys become comedians, you know, Fluffy, John Candy, you know, these guys, we all got beat up at school. You know, we all got picked on. But it's funny, you talk to anybody, they all got picked on. So for me, it's about, hey, authentically, I have a heart for people.
Yeah.
I love people. And one of the things we're starved for in this world today, we're starved for intimacy. And I'm not talking sex. The intimacy of the hug, the affection, even though politically I may not agree with you, I can still love you as a human being. And that's hard to talk about. That you get the jocks, you get the macho men. You can't really talk about your emotions, right? And so being authentic, people need to know that I'm authentic and that I have their best interests at heart, and I will give them the shirt off my back to help them grow their business or change their life. They got to meet me halfway. They got to do some of the work.
Yeah. Do you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm by any chance? No,
I never heard of it.
It's Larry David. He co-created Seinfeld with Jerry Seinfeld, and the character that he plays himself on the show, kind of like Jerry played himself on Seinfeld. I don't know if you've watched Seinfeld, but
sure.
Somebody was interviewing Larry, and his character on the show is extra for sure. He's very persnickety, but he's kind of the opposite of you. He's very persnickety. He likes to look for things to complain about, but he's also very authentic. And I've seen him interviewed where they said, "Hey, so Larry, how much of you on your show is how you are in real life?" And he said, "The version on the show is me if I had the balls to actually be that person." Because he's like the guy who will just like tell you how he feels. Right. And so what I hear for you is a little bit of the same. When you're kind of in like the performance mode, it's the version of you that you authentically would want to be, but it's just like life, society, like the things that we all have inside of us that say, hey, like you're not good enough, you're not this person. So this is like your version of expressing that. That's super cool. That imposter syndrome that I'm not good enough to teach people about business. I'm not good enough to teach people. So the little kid in me says, who do you think you are, dude? You suck at everything. You're hopeless. You know, and it's these negative self-thoughts that I've tried to destroy over the last 20, 30 years. Being married to the most wonderful wife in the world, and that's trademarked. That has been great for me, that, you know, here's this woman that loved me and loves being around me and loves most of what I do, you know, not everything that I do. Yeah.
But marriage is hard, right? And she's been with me for 31 years, and she's the second best thing that ever happened to me in life. So it's enabled me to be the person I want to be, at least, you know, when I have the guts to do it.
Yeah. So originally from Australia, now live in America. What led you to America? Was it a business opportunity? Did you follow love? Like, what has you here?
So I was working duty free up in Brisbane, Australia, in 1989. This American girl comes in, 5 foot nothing, tilts her head, looks at me and says, "You spent so long flirting with them Kiwi girls," New Zealand girls, right?
Yep.
That I think you made me miss my bus for dinner, and even if you didn't, you should take me out. And this is 1989. I said, I sound like Mel Gibson, but I sure don't look like him. 300 pounds, you know, a fat kid with a mullet, you know, 21. And she says, "No, but you're funny." I said, "Funny peculiar or funny ha-ha?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, I'll take you out." So I ended up over here. We've been married since 1990, so going on 31 years now. I think that is. 3 grown kids, you know, built my own private cricket field. So what led me to America? I'd always appreciated America's "I'm pretty good and you're not too bad yourself" type attitude, that patriotic. In Australia, the way I increase your level, increase your standing, is to tear myself down. Jason, compared to you, I'm worthless. Compared to you, I'm
self-deprecating humor. Yeah.
Right. So I lowered myself to lift you up. In America, I grab you by the collar and say, "I'm friggin' awesome and you're not too bad either."
That's very cool. I feel like you, with your future wife, it was a year too early, because Goodfellas, I believe, came out in 1990, which is the all-time most famous hey, like, like when he's like, oh, that's funny. He's like, and then he like Joe Pesci's character with, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's been years since I've seen that movie, but yeah.
Such a classic scene. That's cool. So Ed, I know you do a lot of hosting and you do all sorts of other things, just like I'm hosting you right now.
Right.
And I'm going to give you the hosting mic.
Okay.
I'm going to have you ask me a question. So what can I answer for you that you're wondering about?
So Jason, what drives you?
Oh man, that is a beautiful question, Ed. I feel like that's a very authentic question from you as well. Like that's
I want to know. I don't want the bullshit answer.
Yeah.
Can I say bullshit on your podcast? Bullshit.
Absolutely. I've got the explicit mark checked for podcasts. That's how it works. Okay. You actually check the box on it. Is it explicit? Yes, absolutely.
Right. Well, as an Australian, bloody shit, bullshit. I don't actually. I got deported because I don't say the F word enough or the C word. Like Australians love the C word. I don't use it.
Yeah, anyway, we don't use it in America. It means something very different in UK and Australia that does in the US.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I want to know who you are, what drives you, what's your passion, and what are you doing to move towards your passion?
Yeah. So what drives me is having fun. And what I mean by that is I have a saying that I've created a couple of years ago. If it ain't fun, I ain't doing it. It's kind of the way I look at it.
Right.
Does that mean I have fun 100% of the time? Absolutely not. There's a lot of things that I do that are not fun.
Right.
But it's like, if it ain't fun, I ain't doing it. And also, how can I make this fun?
Right.
So we're, my wife and I are on opposite ends of the spectrum from you. We have two young kids. So we have a 5-year-old who literally went off to kindergarten last week and rode the bus for the first time today. And we have an almost 1-year-old. So we're at the opposite end of the parenting spectrum. And anybody who's listening, who's a parent, knows that kids aren't always fun.
Right.
There's a lot of times that kids aren't fun, but I'm always looking for, how do I make this fun anyway? So it's kind of the thing for you, what you said about laughing more. What's the joy in this? How can I make this interesting? How can I make this fun? So what drives me is having fun, which led me from working for others.
Right.
Which I had a lot of fun doing it. There was parts I loved about my career working for others, but there was a big part that was not fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's led me to, in my professional life, working for myself, doing the kind of work I do now, what drives me is having fun and also sharing, hopefully having others have fun too. I have a lot of clients and they show up and they're not having fun either. And it's not like we're coaching for hours on end about how do you have more fun? Right. But the thing is, like, what is the thing that you can do that's going to generate more play in your life? And I'm also well aware that not everybody cares about that. Some people just don't really care about the jokes, the fun, the play. They're more interested in purely having freedom or having having clarity. And so, but what drives me is making a difference for my clients, which in turn just makes a difference for me.
Right.
So I get the win.
From what I remember, it's business coaching.
I do executive and leadership coaching. My ideal client is somebody who runs a startup, either a co-founder or somebody who's come in as like an outside leader. That's my ideal client. That's where I do my best work. And that job, as you know, as a fellow person who does work with businesses, and like, honestly, I love working with entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship, quite tangibly, is very freaking hard.
Right.
So I'm sure when you're out talking to your clients, same thing is, it's lonely there. It's you got a lot of decisions to make. You have to make tough decisions around hiring and firing. And do we keep the business open? Do we merge with somebody else? So being able to make an impact for somebody and honestly have them smile. I don't tell them dad jokes. Sometimes I do. Well, no, sometimes I do. Depends on the client. But having them smile and go, get that aha, for me, that's having fun, getting the smile, making the difference. So, yeah.
Yeah, very similar. I mean, different ways of achieving the same result. But I tell people, look, you're going to be dead a lot longer than you're going to be alive. And there's a poem called The Dash between the birth date and the death date on your tombstone. I can't recite the dash, but I have turned it into, for me, is the mantra of, hey, enjoy the journey, even when it's not fun, even when it's not comfortable. you can't have good without bad. You can't have light without dark.
That's right.
It's like I got to have seasons. As much as I don't care for the snow and the cold, I want to have different experiences. And if everything, if all we got to eat was ice cream, vanilla ice cream, or whatever your favorite ice cream is, at what point is it no longer fun to eat ice cream?
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. We're not built to like the same things over and over and over again.
Right. Exactly. So although people use that for negative things, I think it's a positive.
Sure.
But I think we can enjoy the journey to the best of our ability. Having open heart surgery and thinking you're going to die isn't an enjoyable experience.
That's right.
But we can learn from that, and we can think about the blessings in our life. Finally, I read a book. The guy said that he'd been through it and he was so traumatized leading up to the surgery. And then he finally realized that, you know what? I'll be on anesthetic, and if I don't wake up, it won't change my life.
That's right.
It won't matter. He's a Christian. He says, I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
The people that'll be left behind are going to be sad, but I'm going to be dancing in the street.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have anything to be afraid of. And I'm thinking, you know what? Yeah. Like, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was so freaked out about this surgery. And then it's a way you can enjoy the dash, enjoy the journey, not just the destination. When you talk to entrepreneurs and you talk to startups, what stories do they tell you? They don't tell you about how they bought the Lamborghini or they made $100 million. They tell you about sleeping in the office because they couldn't afford a house and an office.
That's right.
So they slept in the office, washed in the sink, dangled their feet in the toilet to wash them, and put up with sleeping on the carpet and hiding from the office, from the superintendent, because they're not allowed to sleep at their office.
That's right.
But those are the stories they tell you is the startup and the building stories, because the times that were hard were the most enjoyable.
Well,
as much as we hate them when we're going through them.
Yeah. I mean, just to wrap on this, statistically, you're much more likely to make more money just going to work for somebody else and get a six-figure job or than entrepreneurship statistically is not where you're going to make money. Yes, you can make a lot more money.
Right.
But if you look at the statistics, you're not likely to make a ton of money as a startup co-founder or an entrepreneur statistically. Right. I happen to work with some really talented folks who could go out today and make a ton of money working for somebody else, but their passion, to your point, Ed, is the journey of like doing their own thing, creating something, making an impact that's theirs as opposed to doing it for somebody else. So
exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you for the question. Nobody's ever asked me that. And this is almost episode I've recorded almost 100 of these. Nobody's ever asked me that. So thank you. I appreciate it. That's a very thoughtful question.
You're welcome.
All right, Ed, I'm going to bring it back to you now, my friend, and ask you what you're passionate about.
My wife. That's the number one.
What's her name?
Her name is Alice, and I know your listeners wouldn't be able to see this, but you'll be able to see it.
Yes.
I keep a little picture right beside us, and I titled this picture "The Most Wonderful Wife in the World." You can't tell. There's a little trademarks.
I do see it. Yeah, that's cute.
Yeah. So she let me build my own private cricket field in Wichita, Kansas. She comes out one day, says, "Hey, you want me to learn how to score a cricket game?" I said, "You're American. What do you know about cricket?" She goes, "Well, I like watching you play and enjoy it. I'll learn to score." She learns to score a cricket game. Then she's sitting there and like the pizzas are late. She's like, "Well, how about we just organize for me to make like an Indian curry?" These guys are veggie, so a lot of Indian Pakistani guys. Yeah. And she goes, "We can do some halal chicken or we could do some veggie curry." She goes, "I'll learn to make that." Her curry's so good, the bloody Indians think that I'm getting it made at the local Indian restaurant. I'm like, "No, it's a white girl from Kansas. She's making Indian curry." And then I say, "Hey, look, I think I'm going to, what do you think about moving to Nashville from Wichita and buying a business in Nashville?" She goes, "Honey, you've helped me live my dream in pharmacy for 30 years. I'll follow you wherever." I'm like, do we not watch the same things going on in our life? You do everything I want. This is where you've got two people married to each other that honor each other, that respect each other, that want to live with each other, even if we don't like each other sometimes.
Sure.
Love's an emotion. Love comes and goes. But
sure.
Commitment's forever. Commitment says, even when you get hit on by that chick at the store that likes your Aussie accent, you don't act on it. Right? You don't act on it. It's very simple.
This is a story that I'm sure you've heard randomly, not that actually happened to you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You heard a story about this. That's awesome.
It gets so bad. We were sitting in like a diner, like a Denny's or something, and this cute little blonde comes up and she ignores my wife. She's like, oh, I just love your accent. She's putting her assets right out there. She's blinking her eyelids. And my wife is sitting right there at the other side. And the girl's looking at me, right? And she's like totally engrossed in my accent. This was a few years ago, not recently. And my wife just starts rolling her eyes going, just acting like this girl. And like, I'm like trying hard not to crack up. And finally the girl goes away. And I said, I'm sorry that you have to put up with that. She goes, it's friggin' hilarious. It's hilarious. Yeah. They just ignore me. So anyway, so I'm passionate about my wife. I'm passionate about building good relationships, right? And I'm passionate about building good relationships and helping others build good relationships. Because like I said, we're on our deathbed. We want to spend 5 more minutes with family. We don't want to make $5 more.
That's right.
Yeah. And so building those relationships is key to life. There's a great book called His Needs, Her Needs, Building an Affair-Proof Marriage. He's got a whole series of books and workbooks and stuff. It's one of the best business books I've ever read. It's got nothing to do with business, but it's got everything to do with business because it's about building relationships.
Sure.
You have to have relationships with your vendors, your workers, your next door business. You have to have relationships with everybody. How do we get good relationships? Well, you know what? It takes work. It takes work to build a good relationship.
Yeah.
It takes a respect to build a good relationship. I'm Christian. I got a lot of Muslims, got a lot of Hindus, got a lot of atheists that I play cricket with. We have discussions on religion without killing each other.
Yeah.
We had a foreign exchange student. He said, I didn't understand why Christians do the things they did or what was important as a Christian. He said, what you've shown me with my year here is unconditional love. He said, I never understood unconditional love, that you never forced me to go to church. You never forced me to not set up my little Ganesh or whatever, the statues of the elephant god or whatever. He said, you didn't make me not do that just because you're a Christian household. You gave me unconditional love. And he said, I'm going to take what you've taught me and I'm going to teach a bunch of people about unconditional love.
Very cool.
And so that's what I'm passionate about, because it also translates to how do we treat our clients? How do we treat our customers? Because when we cut somebody off in traffic, we're pretty bloody quick to give ourselves grace and forgive ourselves our mistake. But if somebody else cuts us off in traffic, we hold on to that all day. And so what we need to learn to do is give them grace. Whether you're a Christian or not, doesn't matter. If you're going to forgive yourself for your mistakes pretty bloody quickly, how about giving your wife, your husband, your kids, your co-worker, the guy that cut you off in traffic, the cop that wrote you a ticket for something stupid? How about giving them some of the same grace you give yourself? How about loving fellow people, even if you don't like them?
Yeah. Very cool.
So that's my passion. And that translates very much into business, because you can build a big business by helping others.
Yeah. So I think you've already covered this, but I'm going to have, we're going to expand on this a little bit. So the next question is to ask you about, or what's the thing that you're most proud of? And I think you kind of answered that in your previous answer about passion, but I want to see if there's anything else you'd add to this at this point.
I am very proud of my ability to put others first without patting myself on the back for doing what needs to be done. Mm-hmm. But I am proud of my marriage. 31 years of marriage, like it's more important to me than anything business-wise I've built. But I also love that I've been able to help thousands of business owners just make their lives a little better just through different. I own a barter exchange, so we're able to barter back and forth with businesses without spending cash. Mm-hmm. You still pay taxes on it. You're not going to get away from taxes.
Sure.
I like the fact that I can do things legally and still help people prosper in business. So I'm just proud. I'm pretty proud of where I'm at right now without being prideful, because there, but for the grace of God, go I. I tell people the story of, like, here's this little kid born in country town, Australia, suburb of Sydney, and then moves to another country town, starts a business. And then God says, well, if I don't watch out for him, he's going to end up down the wrong side of the tracks. So he goes all over New South Wales. He goes all over Australia. He goes all over the world, finds this girl in Wichita, Kansas, Cimarron, Kansas, actually out by Dodge, who loves koalas. And she's like, I'm going to go to Australia one day and I'm going to get a koala. Well, of course, she's not going to get a koala, but she got to come over and hold one. And God had a plan. God had a plan. So I'm most proud of the fact that I was at least open to the opportunity and not too scared to follow this up. And 31 years later, we've got 3 amazing kids.
Yep.
We've got 4 kids, but 3 of them are amazing. No, I'm just kidding. And we've got an amazing marriage, and that we love each other and that we respect each other. And for me, God's first, my marriage is second. And quite honestly, my marriage comes before my kids. And a lot of people get that screwed up. Mm-hmm. You're the nucleus of the cell. If you and your wife aren't healthy with each other, then the rest of the cell, which is the family model, the kids, they can't be healthy if the nucleus is healthy. So get your nucleus healthy, and then your kids are healthy. And then teach your kids about money. That's another thing I'm proud of. I taught my kids Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Sure.
And Cash Flow Quadrants. Those are the 2 that I focus on most. He's got some others like, why do A students work for C students, something like that. Yeah. But he's got a game called Cash Flow for Kids that teaches kids about the difference between assets and liabilities, but in a language they can understand.
That's cool.
So for me, teaching, so all of that's wrapped up into what am I proud about? I'm proud that I listened to God even before I was a Christian. And then I'm proud of a 31-year marriage and teaching my kids and bringing them up. I'm not perfect. Like I screw up all the time.
Wait, you're not perfect?
No.
Oh, man.
Like my goal is to say something funny. And a lot of times it doesn't come off because like it's just not, sometimes comedy's just for yourself.
Yep. Oh, for sure. But my wife says that to me all the time. She's like, you really love cracking yourself up. I'm like, oh, I love it.
I found a soundboard the other day, like you can go to myinstance.com and you got all these little buttons that give you sounds. And so I was just testing out all these different sounds like on my show, because I can make it work on my show. And she's sitting over at her computer right next to me and she just starts laughing because I'm laughing. I'm having fun with myself making these. And she's like, you're easily entertained. I said, well, so are you. You married me.
Yeah, I'd say the last thing on this, I think you just inspired me not to add a laugh track to my podcast.
No, you got to do it. Like it's awesome.
Maybe I'll edit in a little bit of a laugh track at the end of our episode. It'll be a first. All right, Ed. So we're going to start to wrap up here.
Yep.
And I do have a few more questions for you. So my next question is just a couple more. I'm giving you the fair warning. What's something that you're afraid might actually be true about you?
That I'm not as funny as I think I am.
Have you had people tell you that?
Oh yeah, my daughter tells me all the time.
Well, it
doesn't count, right?
Teenage and adult kids don't count.
That I'm not as good at relationships as I think I am. So it's all tied into that. Who I am, just being authentic. I tell people, look, be authentic. Unless you're a serial killer, don't be that. Like if you're an asshole, don't be an asshole. Change. But otherwise, be authentic, be who you are. And so I want to make sure, I'm afraid that maybe people mistake me as not being authentic, but I really am. Mm-hmm. What you see is what you get. I'm pretty much an open book. So sometimes I'm afraid I'm not.
Yeah, it's interesting. This kind of leads me back to what we talked about at the beginning of when you're on, and but you're actually introverted because you don't, if we were a doctor, you'd say you don't present as an introvert at all.
Right.
But it's interesting as we've, even in this interview today, as we've kind of gone through it, I'm seeing the more real you. I don't see, like, I'm not seeing you as introvert, but like, it's fun to see both sides of you.
Right.
And I do see it's all authentic. I
think maybe the child in me that still sees me as an introvert, maybe I'm not an introvert anymore because I've become so much happier and comfortable with playing the role. But my inner child still sees me as this introvert.
Yeah.
Myself as having a low self-image, this imposter syndrome, this self-doubter. But I'm really maybe not anymore. Yeah. But that's still the way we see in our mindset, right?
Yeah. Sound like some coaching or therapy talk.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
I did a rapid transformation therapy that, just blew me out of the water. It was great.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. All right, Ed. How do you see the world?
people live up to your expectations. If you expect the best out of people, 7.8 billion people say on the planet, I think the vast majority of them are wonderful, caring, good-natured individuals.
Yeah.
And that is totally different than what some of my friends, they see everybody as assholes. And I say, look, whether you think you are or whether you think you aren't, either way, you're right. So I just translate that into, when Crocodile Dundee walks down the street of New York in 1986 on the Crocodile Dundee movie, and he goes, oh, hi, and people are just ignoring him. I'm thinking, that's my attitude. I'm going to do that in New York one day. And I did. I walked down New York, didn't have the American flag shirt, didn't have the hat. I just said, oh, hi, smiled. G'day, how's it going? I'm here from Australia. And they're like smiling and carrying on. They don't realize that I'm just trying to play off this Crocodile Dundee thing. Because it's 19, and then it was like 2003 or 2004. Yeah. So all these young kids and stuff, But I think people are good. I think the world has so many good people and so many wonderful stories that we need to cut some people some slack.
Mm. Yeah, I'm just thinking about that. Yeah, I think as Americans as a whole, it's my observation is we're not very good at cutting each other's slack. I don't know if this is I don't know if this is just a human condition thing, but I feel like the American culture does not have a lot of slack in it. At least in the kind of culture that I live in, like living in New York City, like there's not a lot of slack.
Right. I think Americans absolutely are, without a doubt, the most generous people in the world. Without a doubt. There's facts to back that up left, right, and center about how much money we give away to the rest of the world. I'm not talking about from a government perspective because the government wants to control the other government. I'm just saying that in general, when something bad happens, Americans are the first ones to reach into their pocketbooks or to go do the work to help other people out. And that's one of the things that I've always admired about America. Now, there's a bunch of assholes as well, but predominantly we're wonderful. Americans are wonderful people. And I think humans in general are pretty wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome, Ed. Well, I want to thank you for being on. We're going to wrap up here. Before we officially close it out, I have two more things. First thing, where can the audience connect with you and find you?
Everywhere. If you, I've got a TikTok channel. Probably Facebook is the easiest way to connect. Now I'm up at 4,400 guests, 4,400 friends. So if you look up AUSSIEFOX, AUSSIEFOX, that's my username on Facebook. So you can just do FB for Facebook, fb.com/AUSSIEFOX.
Okay.
If you look at LinkedIn, Edward Fox. I own a company called Trade Bank of Nashville and Trade Bank of Wichita. YouTube channels. I've got a channel I've had since 2006 about cricket. That's AUSSIEFOX, AUSSIE. I've got a TikTok channel, Special Ed Fox Dad Jokes. I'm big on Alignable. Like I'm one of the top businesses. I'm actually one of the top 25 businesses out of 7 million businesses. I got 2 of my businesses on the top 25 in America. That's my brag lately.
That's sure.
My only brag. And that's Trade Bank of Wichita and Nashville Discount Card are 2 of my other businesses. So I'm around, but LinkedIn's good. My email is edward@AUSSIEFOX, AUSSIEFOX.com. Cool. So, anybody that wants to talk business or talk attitude or wants to send me 1,000 dad jokes, because I'm down to like 4,000 dad jokes now. So
you only have 4,000 left.
Yeah, on my Google Drive, because people message me on Facebook and on everything, and they send me dad jokes. And so I've got 2 books written, 101 Grown-tastic Dad Jokes. And then my son said, what are you going to call the second book? I said, it's 101 More Grown-tastic Dad Jokes, Volume 2. And he said, well, that's redundant. I said, no, I checked it out with the Department of Redundancy Department, and they said it was perfectly legit.
They said it was okay. Yeah, that's funny. That's awesome. I will put everything you just shared in the show notes here as well.
Right.
As always, go to the show notes, check them out, connect, open. Before we wrap, there's an Instagram channel that I follow that's got that's Daily Dad Jokes. I don't know if you follow Daily Dad Jokes.
No, but I am.
I think they've got hundreds of thousands of subscribers on Instagram. It's and I don't know where the dad jokes come from, but there's some ones that I'm like, oh, and there's some other ones. They're pretty good. Right. Like there's some really good ones.
Yeah, well, Ed, it's hard to find the author of dad jokes, right? It's hard to because they've been around for years and years. They've been
Right.
printed thousands of times. So when I've written the books, people go, did you do the? No, like I've kept notebooks since I was a kid of dad jokes. So I don't know where half these come. If somebody says, oh, that's my dad joke, you got to take it down. Okay, no worries, mate. No worries. He'll be fine.
Yeah. You're not looking to make $1 gazillion off dad jokes here.
No,
Yeah,
I
it's
give
fun.
it a Kindle Unlimited free book. Go get
Right.
101 Grown-tastic dad jokes today.
Go make your kids suffer. I love it.
That's right. Exactly.
That's awesome, Ed.
Jason, thank you for having me on the show. And I'd love to get you to know you better and just chat whenever you're up for it.
Let's do it, Ed. I'm down for it. I'd love if you would do one last thing for us.
Yep.
And leave us with some words of wisdom. And the words of wisdom should be short and sweet. What do you got for us?
Yes. So this is an Ed Fox original. Failure is just a comma, not a period.
Failure is just a comma, not a period. And that's an Ed Fox original.
As far as I can tell, I came up with it years and years ago. I've not seen it anywhere else. So I'm claiming it. But basically, so in Australia, we say full stop instead of period. So failure is not a full stop. It's only a comma is the way I used to say it.
Yeah.
So, but the point is you can pick yourself up, dust yourself off, turn yourself around and start going again.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being with us, Ed. It's a pleasure. And we'll wish you, your wife, the kids, everything very best of what you're up to. And congratulations on moving to Nashville. I love Nashville.
Hey, thanks, Jason. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Talking to Cool People with Jason Frizzell. If you enjoyed today's episode, please tell your friends. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook and give us a shout out or take a moment to leave a review on iTunes. If something from today's episode piqued your interest and you'd like to connect, email us at podcast@jasonfrizzell.com. We love hearing from our listeners because you're cool people too.
Hey, everybody. It's Jason. I know you've heard my voice many times in the podcast, and I'm here to tell you about something very interesting coming up. I want to let you know about an incredible opportunity for you to get free tips and strategies to build and monetize your personal brand. My good friend Rory Vaden is a New York Times bestselling author and Hall of Fame speaker, and he and his wife founded a company called Brand Builders Group. And they have put together a huge online summit where they're interviewing some of the most influential personal brands in the world on their never-before shared secrets of how they became who they are today. So who's speaking at the summit? We've got Lewis Howes, got Michael Hyatt, Dennis Rodman, Kevin Harrington, Jay Baer, Donald Miller, and more. This is a rare opportunity for you to hear the stories about how they became New York Times bestselling authors, how they built high-paid keynote speaking careers, how they have grown massive online followings, and exactly what they have done to create large, multi-seven-figure businesses. If you're someone who is looking to create any type of influence, you have to check this out. It's totally free, and you're going to be learning from the masters who've actually done this. So I want you to encourage you to head over to the show notes today. And in the show notes, I'm going to put a link to this summit. Again, completely free. Take a look at it. I feel super confident you will find it valuable. And now, enjoy the episode.